I don't know, I decided to start this video because of the language simp did the same thing, so I decided to just talk unstoppably in English language because of I'm really struggled to continue the conversation with foreigners for a long time. I mean, usually I can support some kind of a topic, a certain topic about any stuff, but if I have to continue my thoughts, or I don't know, like in this case, in this video, to talk just by myself, that's really difficult. So, first of all, I want to tell about my path of learning English language. Of course, I'm learning it as well as other Russians since the school, since the primary school, from the English lessons. But actually, I started learning from the comprehensible input nearly 4 years ago when I started to watching movies. The first movie was A Drive with Ryan Gosling. Um, Actually, I like that because of that's really interesting. You immerse in the movie. You start drawing in the environment inside the movie, and some phrases are untranslatable in the English language. So you know you experience it in a different way rather than in translation. You mentioned that I have struggled with the pronunciation of the English words because of, you know, Slavs and Germanic people doesn't have any, I don't know, any common sounds in their languages. So, yep, I'm really struggle with that. Actually, my first goal was to gain my grades in the school because of English language was always the most difficult subject for me, and maybe still is. So I decided to join the English Discord server, and I started to communicate with the Africans and with the Indians. Of course, that brought me a large experience because of, you know, I just started communicating with people who doesn't understand me in the other way than the English language. And they also don't speak really well, so it was way simpler to find a common language with people who doesn't speak English really well as you, rather than find a common language with the native speakers, because of they used to talk in the complicated way. So yep, I started talking with the Arabs, with the Indians, with the Africans about, I don't know, usually lifestyle, usually life stuff. Yep. And I don't know. I just stayed on. I just continued doing that for a couple of years. Of course, I mixed that with the comprehensible input. Usually, I watched some kind of YouTube channels like LGR, or I don't know what. Recently, I watched a few ironically living in Europe videos that helped me a lot in learning language. Obviously, language sim because of he explains the way of learning as well as Steve Kaufman, and because of, I don't know, he's a way closer to my own generation than Steve Kaufman. It was more entertaining for me, maybe. Um, but along with that, I also try. to watch Breaking Bad series, um, Better Call Saul series, a little bit of Sopranos series, but it was too complicated for me, so I understand nearly 40% of the plot. So I switched to the Goblin translation. So that also bring me an experience. And the best experience when you're trying to playing some kind of cooperative games with the foreigners because of, for example, in Deep Rock Galactic or in Arma 3, you have to communicate with the foreigners and you have to figure out what will you do in the current action, especially when you have to develop your own tactics against the enemies and when you have to capture uh, some kind of town and when you have to bring resources for the primary task or the secondary objective, and you have to cooperate it in the English language effectively. So you have to force yourself to form your own thoughts um, into into words, into normal sentence, so everyone will understand you. I don't know, but because of I live in the Russian speaking environment, 99% of the time I use Russian language, I read in Russian language, though I bought the Lovecraft book, but I never started for a year after buying that. Um, so my level of English is just stuck in the B1 level, A2 level, I don't know, somewhere between these. So, nor intermediate nor beginner, but somewhere between these two levels. Um, I don't know. It's really fun to speak in foreign language because when you're stuck in your own environment, you don't understand what's happening around the world, and you're just stuck in your own environment. You just talk with the relatives, with your friends, with people with whom you work. I don't know, I just had a work experience, so when you communicating with the customers or with your own company, you obviously don't learn anything new about the world itself, the entire world. But when you're communicating with the foreigners, you have a travel-like experience because of um, you communicating with the person who lives in a completely different environment, and he can exchange with you with the knowledge and with the information about its own environment and what he actually does. It's really opened my eyes on the what's happening in the world, especially that everyone almost the same. Even the Indians, even the Arabs, even the Americans have almost the same problems as me. The problems with the relationships, the problems with the university, the problems with the sloth. You know, people almost the same because of the most of the time they work, they rest, they eat something, they go to water closet and they go to shower and they go to sleep. So nobody, I mean, the majority of people doesn't care about their own culture, the politics. Yep, even me, even living near with the Ukrainian border, maybe it it takes 3 or 4 hours to drive to Ukrainian border. I don't know. I doesn't care about the politics because of I don't know. The news almost the same. The actions I don't know. I see in reality the inflation, the problems with the prices. The I actually lost my job because of the war, but I don't know. Um, I usually care about my own personal life rather than politics. So I'm trying to just, um, I don't know, to improve my own environment, maintain myself, and I don't know, don't trying to not be angry at on the different people because of when you contact when you have a contact with the foreigners, they have a kind of stereotypes as well as me about the different cultures, different nationalities, and usually people don't aren't glad about my own nation. So I don't know. At first, I usually had an argument with the foreigners, but I just got used to that. No, people are different, and I don't know. When you're talking with them, they realize that you're just an ordinary person, and the anger disappears. Um, I don't know. Actually, I'm struggling with the tenses, as you mentioned in English language. I'm struggling really with the grammar at all, with the pronunciation, and I'm really trying to improve that. I don't know, just by practicing because of it's much more interesting than just I don't know reading or isolated learning. Just solving an examples in the student's book. I don't know. For me, it feels like I'm really using the tool. I really understand the importance of the English language because it's a lingua franca over the globe. And I don't know. Even trying to complete this challenge, the speaking in the foreign language for the entire hour, um, I understand that it's really improving me. Actually, even if you will try to speak in your own language for an entire hour, you realize that you have a plenty of topics to talk. I don't know. Maybe. Actually, I'm not a special. I don't have any. I don't know. I don't know. I know unordinary skills. I'm not talented, so I can show you anything special. But I don't know. Anyway, I can tell you something. Um, Actually, I don't know. I tried to push myself to read, but I realized that it's really complicated to read more than as one chapter per day because of I don't know. I have problems with the concentration. I think that's a really usual problem in the present day because of many of people uh, have a deal with the short content, with the scrolling, with the feeds, and when you have a I don't know the content what you don't have to mm, reflect on yourself. I mean, it's already swallowed and it's already prepared for you. You just take it and consume. I don't know. It's like with the food. You just taking a. It's like eating street food or eating fast food instead of preparing the dishes yourself because of not dishes. Uh, you understand? The food dishes. I don't know. I I remember that I met the dishes in context of the prepared food, but I don't know. The possibly I am incorrect. So um, I don't know. In 50 minutes, I all my topics are erased. I don't know. Actually, even in the if I struggle with English language, you can imagine how bad am I in the older languages except Russian. I don't know. I have an experience with learning Japanese language because of I don't know. I had a dream to move in the Japan, but after learning hiragana and katakana and learning the basics kanji and trying to watch the Keion series with in the Japanese language with the Japanese subtitles, I realized that it's so complicated that it requires literally months of learning to achieve this, to watch at least a single episode from the series. I don't know. Um, I tried to learn the language from the student's book, but I realized that I started to forget about new words, about the grammar, about the even alphabet, because of without practicing, without using it in your own environment, um, you just your memory just erases. It feels like I don't know. Imagine that you just scratched the some kind of the word, I don't know, on the glass or on the surface, and it's just covered by the dust and you just don't see it because if you don't use it usually. So that kind of problem I felt while learning Japanese language, and I learned it isolatedly. I mean through Anki app, through Duolingo app. So obviously without watching anime, without talking with Japanese in the VR chat rooms or in Discord, you just learn it in isolated way and start forget it in real start forget it really fast. In German language it's even worse. I decided to learn it only because of uh, you know in Russian schools there are two types of learning the foreign language, or you just take the English class only and you learn it in the relatively advanced level, I mean on the A2 level, I mean in this current level, or you learn the English language and German language simultaneously and you learn them both on the A1 level, so you don't have opportunities even for communicating with the foreigners. So actually, I envy to people from the different classes that they take in the German lessons and they know a bit of this language because I don't know. For me, it seems really interesting from the point that it's one of the most popular languages over the Europe, and a lot of media, a lot of countries, a lot of people speak in this language, and I understand what how many information I can get from the knowing the German language. So I decided to learn it through the Duolingo app, and yeah, and I realized that just learning that dog is Hund, and that's all. that, that's everything that I remember from the lessons. That's ridiculous. You realize that you can't support the conversation. I used the translator really frequently while texting with the Germans, so yep, I quit that language because of I learn it unsystematically, as well as Japanese language, as well as English language. I don't know. If I had a kind of schedule, a kind of a system, a kind of I don't know. If I learn it consciously, not unconsciously, when you just fall in envy to other people that they speak in the foreign language way better than you, and you just try to be the best, to beat the record, to be better than you earlier. You just do some kind of ridiculous result and you just quit for a while. So it's a way better to learn it regularly. Not much at a single lesson, I don't know, but regularly at all. Maybe talking with someone regularly, maybe just watching something regularly, but you have to learn something new while consuming or while using the language. Um, I don't know. Actually, in reality, the English language is useless completely because of everything is translated is almost. Of course, there are, there are some kind of media exists. What isn't translated in Russian language? I mean, from my personal experience, it's a Persona 5 game. I understand that it's ridiculous, but yep, that's my only experience. I tried to complete it. I spent, I don't know, nearly 30 or 50 hours in this game, and yep, I had an experience playing the game, but never translated in Russian language. But except this, everything is translated. The translation culture is really developing in the CIS, especially in Russia, because of Russian is not only the country what speaks in Russian language. So we are trying to translate the media, and we usually consume everything what is translated because of it's developing, it's adorable. Adorable? Not affordable? I don't know. Um, Actually, I don't know. Maybe because of I have really low level of the language, I don't usually have new connections while speaking with the foreigners. I don't know. I don't usually make friends in the web. I don't usually make relationships. I never had them, especially on the distance. So I don't know. Maybe because of my terrible knowledge, have uh, I have troubles with communicating with other people. But I don't know. Maybe because of I'm just can support a conversation, and I can tell I can I don't know uh, tell about myself in a interesting way. Actually, I don't know. I accepted that in this year, um, I finished the school. I'm trying to. I mean, in a couple of weeks, I will study in the university. I will study artificial intelligence in my local university in Tulsu. But I tried for a long time to pass USC exam for the admitting in Moscow. That was my dream to study and live in the capital for the further moving in the Western Europe or in the United States or in the Japan, in a more developed country. I don't know. For me, I don't know. I understand that that's a natural dream. That's a basic dream for a teenager who wants to pretend to be a grown man. But I pushed myself to do everything for that, and I failed because of this year. Um Something in the Ministry of the Education decided to make the exam too simple for the people who has been preparing for this for the year or two, as well as me. And you know, it wasn't surprising this year to pass an exam on the 19 from 100 score. Everyone had an 260, 280, or even 300 from 300 score. And everyone tried to admit the documents to Moscow, to top universities, or even not top universities. Maybe they are even worse than my local university, but people tried to move in Moscow, and everyone are failing. You know, I had an I watched in the direction in the mirror in the Moscow, and it had an 11 places. So 4,000 people sent their documents on that direction. That's ridiculous. 4,000 men on the single place, and I was 2,000. When I watched for the when I researched the list of the places where I could go and I sent my documents, I realized that I had no chances to study in Moscow. And when I've seen just a pin, just a small piece of the chance to study in Moscow, I sent the documents and realized that I will study only in the direction what requires 200 from 300 score, while I'm having a 256 from 300 score. And my parents, when they seen that I sent my documents to the capital, said to return them to said to send the documents to my own town. So, yep, I won't study in the Moscow, but I will remain here in my hometown, studying with my former classmates, meeting my friends, meeting the people with whom I prepared to the exams, and for me, that's that's not the bad situation. I mean, that's a great situation, but because if I can communicate with them, I can spend the time with them. I can just live my own life for the 4 years and don't care about the job, don't care about surviving in the different town, don't care about the earning money for the food while trying to study a difficult or a difficult subject or trying to communicate with the teachers, with the tutors to get a good grade for the further studying. Actually, I was a great student in the school. I finished it on the golden medal, right? And I think that that's completely useless because of course it gave me an extra 10 score for the admitting in the universities, but you know, despite this, it's a completely useless achievement. It says nothing about me. So I'm thinking that I can just chill a little bit while studying in the university and don't push myself to be a great student and get only A grades in the university. don't force myself to get the 5.0 GPA. So I decided to just relax and try to, I don't know, try to study the life because of I realized that I'm too young for the 18 years. I mean, I don't know the majority of the stuff what a man in my age should know. I don't know everything about the relationships. I don't ever think about the parties, about normal communications. I mean, the majority of friends what I have, I got while studying in the primary school. In I've I've been communicating with my friends for the decade. I have no new friends. I don't have an experience to talk with new people and making a friends in the uncomfortable situation. In the you know I had no experience to go in a party and make a new friends or find a girlfriend. So I have to learn that while studying at home, and I have to force myself to make new connections. So that's my goal for the further 4 years, and for me, I mean that's more valuable than just learning math and programming solidly. Um, I don't know. This summer I tried to make relationships, but they were unsuccessful because of, um, you know, the girlfriend. She's not a girlfriend. Just she she said that she loves my best friend instead of me, and she said that she wants to have relationships with him. I said, okay, never mind. I mean, I said to myself, never mind. But for her, I said nothing. I just accepted that. So I don't know. The majority of the time, I'm just alone. That's not really great, but it's not really bad when you have no enemies and you don't have no conflicts with other people because of no one communicates with you almost. Of course, I right now usually hang out with a programmer who forced me to solve the code forces problems. This summer, I I really I got really better at the programming. I learned new algorithms. I learned new structures of data structures. I learned, you know, how to program without an eye, and I'm starting solving some problems in a limited time, under pressure. That's the best experience what I really had in the few years of learning programming language. It reminds me learning of the natural language because of when you're just learning through the student's book, you don't have any valuable experience and knowledge. But when you trying to make a program, when you force yourself to solve a problem in an hour, when you force yourself to solve a problem with your teammate to be the best in the group, when you force yourself to solve the maximum of the problems what you possible to solve, you're gaining your skills really rapidly. So, yep. I think that I got better this summer. Mm, I don't know. I decided to take a break a little bit from the learning a programming language because of learning a C++, learning a competitive programming algorithms because of I realized that if you force yourself to solve the problems constantly, you just your attention and your skills of solving, and of course your energy will just go down, decrease. So my current level of energy is on low level. I don't want to do anything. I'm just watching Sopranos in Russian language. I even don't learn the English language. I'm playing Cis2. I'm playing in Fear, though it's an ancient game what's older than me. I don't know, I just trying to get a maximum of the. I just trying to rest. Not getting a maximum of the satisfaction, but just to have a rest, take a break from the intensive learning. And actually, I had a new connections while learning the while visiting the competitive programming courses because of um, I forced myself to go to the university, taking the classes, and while taking the classes, I asked more, I don't know, not actually smart, but a way better in the competitive programming, more skilled people about the problems and ask them for the help. So they helped me to gain my level of the programming, and they helped me to force myself to communicate with people. Actually, I've met a couple of people from the different towns who came here from the hundreds of kilometers away, and I've learned a new a new thing about communication with people from the different towns in real life. So for me, it's valuable. I feel like that I'm just repeating the same topic of the conversation because of, I don't know. Well, when I'll try to talking about the learning of the English itself, I just don't have to so much information to share with you. So I don't know. Hmm. I don't know. The language sim when he don't have any topics for the conversation, just try to sing. But I don't know. I have no songs in the English language, even in Russian. I don't sing, so I don't know how to feel the silence. Actually, I don't even know who will be watching this because of, I don't know. You're just wasting your time listening how to Slav force your force himself to talk on the camera in the total silence and in a total loneliness, and just force himself to speak in the most basic language. I don't know. Um, I don't know. Personally, for me, you know, I told about the Fear game, what is way older than me. I don't know. Personally, for me, I I'm more like old games, especially old shooters, because of they have enough length to satisfy with to have a satisfaction of them to get a file from them, but they are not too long to get bored from them. I don't know, while I trying to complete the Cyberpunk game or the Witcher 3 game, I got really bored too fast because of they required to force yourself to complete the objectives for the hundreds of the gameplay. But while you trying to play in old Call of Duty games or in the Half-Life games or in the Wolfenstein games, even the new, because of they're developed by the same people as 30 years ago. Of course, not completely, but it's make as well as the old shooters. And Fear, they have an 4 or 5 or 6 hours length main campaign, and you have an ability to complete them in a single session, in a single time, from the beginning till the end. So I actually liked that because of, I don't know, I don't usually play in the games, and that's a perfect format for me. That's a perfect way to get enough fun. Thumb, I say fun. I mean, when you're trying to play in the online games, you force yourself to master the game itself for the first hundred of hours, and later you just trying to force yourself to play in it to get fun. You know, the time lapses, really, really faster in the online games because of you just stuck in a routine and you don't mention how the hours are just wasting in the, for example, Dota 2 or Counter Strike. In opposite way, when you're trying to play in the old single player game, even if you spend an hour, it's uh, it's it's an hour but filled with new plot, with new gameplay, with the immersion, with the new experience what you have gotten. So for me, that's why old games are more attractive than the new ones. Maybe because of I start playing the old games at first. I had an old PC on the Pentium D processor. I don't know, it was from 2005 or 2007 year, and the newest game what it could possibly launch, but it was impossible to play, was a GTA 4, and you know it wasn't you have no ability to complete it because of the only way you can play in it was in the minimal settings, in a minimal resolution, in a 50 frames per second. So usually I play it in the game uh, uh, what were made before the 2005. So I've played in Half-Life 1, Half-Life 2 games, in episodes of the Half-Life 2, in the 3D GTA games, in Red Faction shooter, in a System Shock 2. Actually, I tried to play the Infamous Underground 2 game. I spent, I don't know, hundreds of hours in the Counter-Strike source in 1.6. Um, and that's all. That's everything what I remember. I don't know. Actually, when I was little, I got used to modify the games, especially the GTA San Andreas, because of the simpleness of the modifying the game. And I tried to make it more closer to the PS2 version because of I watched plenty of videos uh, about the gameplay in the original way, because of that at first it was a PS2 exclusive for half of the year, and I've got a lot of fun of struggling with the modifying with the game to get a result great. I've spent many hours in playing Morrowind or Oblivion, but I don't know. In Morrowind, I stuck at the beginning because if I didn't get the fight system. Yep, I'm a Gen Z dumbass who can't examine the controls in the old game. And in the Oblivion, I've completed the Sheogorath extension, and I've almost completed the main campaign. Actually, that was interesting because of in opposite with the Morrowind, the Oblivion was too simple to had a really simple fight system and upgrade system, because of the more you do something, the better you get at it. So that's why I played in Oblivion way more than the Morrowind. In Skyrim, I never play it, and I don't know. I don't know. I have no any plans to install it and playing it now. So I don't know. Maybe later. Maybe when I will be 30 or 40 or 17, I will install it and try and start playing that. But right now, when I'm 18, no. Right now, I don't know what to say because I don't know. I'm an empty person. The only thing what I do at the majority of the time, I don't know, it's just watching the YouTube videos absolutely randomly. I don't remember the channel name. I don't remember the. I don't remember what I've seen. I don't remember the topics of the video, the topics, the source. I don't remember the information what I get. So I'm just a consumer. It's really bad. I have to force myself to watch something in. I have to get especially interested and develop it, and consume the media only related with this limited interest. But I don't do that, and I just watching everything what will appear in my feed. And in my feed appears, everything. About traveling, about language learning, about video games history, about news. And I consume everything. I don't have any kind of filter. So I just became a consumer who just eats everything what he sees. And maybe I have to get rid of this disease, and just no. At least just starting to have a more deep in, interest in old games. Maybe develop my channel about old games, explaining them, learning the game in the from the point of the programmer, developer, or just examine it as the researcher. I don't know, explain the rare video games in an interesting way, not just consume it more consciously. But I don't do that, and I'm too lazy to make a kind of video because you have to make a scenario, you have to make a footages, right? Make the recordings of the gameplay, um, you know, record yourself, um, edit that, and publish that, and support that for a long time, um, relatively regularly. For me, that's really complicated, and I don't have a wish to do that. I don't know. Really soon I will just study in the university and I will be busy enough to not do that. Actually, right now I have a possibility to do that, but in advance I wouldn't. Um, I don't know. Actually, I had a dream to, I don't know, record my own album. No, just remember about my old friends, call them, and make a band. Because of I'm playing a guitar for a year, but because of I learning as well as everything else unregularly and unsystematically, I have a skill issue in playing in guitar, and that will be a large shame in playing it on the camera. So actually, I don't know. I have to just force myself to play at least for fun, daily, and later I will figure out how to record it. Actually, I have a few demos, but actually it's a shame to share it around the web. I have to make a lyrics. I have to make a normal riffs. I have to learn how to play solos, learn the gammas, learn the complicated rhythmic patterns, uh, learn the I don't know almost everything because of I have no ability to play anything harder than Nirvana. Even while playing Master of Puppets, when I started playing the first solo, the one of the simplest solo in the metal at all, I can't play it. So I have to develop that. Um, Again, I have no any topics. Maybe I just have to communicate with the real world more frequently. Maybe. But the only thing that you can hear right now, except this, what I'm trying to say to fill the silence, is the annoying sounds of the grass cutter. I don't know how to call it because of I never learned the translation of the газонокосилка. Dang, I used the Russian word. Actually, I don't know. when I learned from the what I learned from the conversation with the other people, especially with the people from the West Europe, that the difference between environments is you know it's a we have no actually large difference in the environments. People from the Central Europe or from the Western Europe lives in the same common blocks as me right now. They have the same problem with the annoying neighbors, with the lack of the sound isolation, uh, lack of the no, actually, I don't know. My city is pretty clear, but because of the amount of people who comes from the Central Asia, it comes way more dirtier than before. Um, but actually, the architecture, the city structure, even the economy. Of course, in Western Europe is better, but not way better what people try to show. They live in almost the same environment as me. Maybe that fact um, told me that I don't have to force myself to learn the different language, the skills only just for moving. I have to do it to develop myself, and actually I have to have a bit of the fun from the learning, because of when just learning for your dream, what will you do when you fail your dream? What will I learn for the USC? Will I study for the USC exam if I knew that I will study in the tool anyway? I don't think so. You have to you have you have to develop your own dream to move forward. But actually you have to develop your own plan when you will fail your dream. Because when you will fail, you don't have to stop. You have to continue to just at least keep your skills on the same level as now, at the same level. The maintenance also requires kind of the resources, energy, and the endure. But actually, I don't know. Learning just for the moving and ignoring other targets, just getting fun from the communicating with foreigners, getting fun from the consuming the media in the original language. Especially you feel this when you learn the English language. It opens your eyes and you will see way more than than Russian language. And when you realize that you learn the language not for a single target, but for plenty of the reasons, you will feel a little way better. No, a way better while learning this, because of it's really hard. The brain brain consumes over half of the energy of your body, and the learning is the most complicated and most energy consuming activity of your body. The 8 hours of studying is obviously way harder than 8 hours of working, because of while working you just get used to do that. While studying, you have to you have to realizing you have to realize what you learn, You have to remember that and you have to master it. And yep, time is expired. I can pretend that I completed the challenge, though the most part of the time I just tried to fill the silence. So, thanks for the watching. If you finished that, you can admire yourself that you have a possibility to listen as Eastern Slavic person with a heavy accent. So, see ya.